So guys, welcome back to the WSXM channel. So, we're going to talk about Burkina Faso, where Ibrahim Traore is making strides in cleaning up Burkina Faso. Because a couple of years, not a couple of years, last year, a lot of officials was arrested. Some of them fled the country, and some of them got imprisoned, and some of them are still in court cases of major corruption. They are so-called, these are some of the so-called, what do you call them? Those non-profit organizations, and these using that as a cover to defraud the state and steal millions of dollars from the local people. Anyway, take a listen to one of the ministers explaining this, and then I'm going to talk about it after. Take a listen. Go.
As the war against terrorism in all its forms intensifies, along with the fight against corruption and financial misconduct, and despite the increased development efforts through various reforms and presidential initiatives, we unfortunately observe the persistence of certain practices within the public administration. Following the serious revelations brought to public attention on November 27, 2024, by the Coral regarding the privatization of Sokoji, the Comrade President of Faso, Head of State, Captain Ibrahim Traore, has instructed all institutions to relentlessly pursue investigations into any acts and reports that harm the proper functioning of the public administration and the legitimate interests of citizens. Thus, in accordance with its missions and prerogatives, the Coral has referred the matter to the Orientation Council of the Commission for the Regulation of Malfunction on cases of dysfunction involving entities and individuals or legal persons so that they can conduct thorough investigations. Thus, in the period from December 2024 to August 2025, that is, within 9 months, following anonymous reports and self-referral, the members of the CRD Steering Committee investigated around 100 registered cases, which to this day have met with varying outcomes. The minutes of the various working sessions of the CRD Steering Committee reveal several reprehensible cases, the most illustrative of which are cases of corruption and related acts, requests for redress of injustice, abuse of power, and wrongful dismissals. Cases of forgery and use of forged documents, specifically the falsification of documents, administrative acts, and judicial acts. Cases of embezzlement of public property or theft of equipment, as well as many other bad practices within the public administration. With regard to corruption and related acts, the CRD Steering Committee has recorded about 20 cases involving reports of suspicious practices in the courts and attempted passive corruption involving magistrates, bailiffs, customs officers, healthcare workers, land agents, and so on. Among these cases, we can mention, among others, serious acts of corruption in the hygiene department of Ouagadougou, threats and illicit enrichment, embezzlement and malpractice in the municipality of Zabré, highlighting the misappropriation of funds intended for public works and collections from the population. Suspicions of corruption against a deputy prosecutor for refusing to sign a summons in a case involving aggravated theft, forgery and use of forged public documents, extortion, criminal conspiracy, and money laundering, which pits him against former ministers of the economy. Complaints against municipal police officers in Garango, suspected of attempted fraud, intimidation, impersonation of titles, forgery and use of forged public documents and associations of criminals. Acts of corruption and related offenses, forgery and use of forged documents, and overbilling of public treasury receipts at the Departmental Water Service in Kouvri. Cases of corruption and malpractice that have gone unaddressed in court, for example, a complaint for a subtle and insidious embezzlement of public property, specifically a plot of land belonging to a local authority, filed in court since 2021 against a lawyer, whose discriminatory treatment by the justice system raises suspicions of serious dysfunction. Cases of corruption and related offenses involving the decentralized services of Traore, the leaders of Copec Galore, the provisional administrator of the Excellence Afrique firm, the One-Stop Land Service, and the management of Sokojil. Victims and witnesses were heard during the review of these citizens' petitions. Regarding suspicions about the authenticity of diplomas, forgery and use of forgeries, and falsifications that led to recruitments or promotions in the civil service, a set of 6,000 diplomas belonging to public employees was analyzed. These employees come from organizations such as the Presidency of Faso, the ministries responsible for health, security, agriculture, economy and finance, territorial administration and mobility, primary, secondary, and higher education, environment, and digital transition, humanitarian action, justice, and other independent public institutions. The completion of the review of this case has made it possible to identify dishonest employees. Employees whose diplomas were found to be inauthentic have recently been dismissed and will have to face justice. This large-scale operation is ongoing and will be intensified. However, a reduction in sanctions could be applied to anyone in one of these situations who voluntarily reports themselves to the relevant authorities as soon as possible. With regard to requests for redress of injustice, abuse of power, and wrongful dismissals, collective and individual complaints about irregular recruitment, users disillusioned by public or private agents or international organizations and institutions, and clear intentions to deny rights to state employees, slanderous accusations have been received by the CLD Steering Committee. Under this section, a case of wrongful career suspension at the Ouagadougou City Hall was noted. There were also reports of malpractice at the Konki Hipala police station involving cases of forgery of public documents, theft, and complicity in embezzlement related to police fine receipts, as well as the organization of escapes for detainees in custody. Cases of abuse of power, refusal to draft official reports, and favoritism were observed in the accident section of the Ouagadougou police station. Malpractice and breaches of ethical rules were also reported within the Ouagadougou High Court. Incidents of tampering and refusal to publish the results of a recruitment test at the Burkina Faso Chamber of Commerce and Industry were also noted. Abuse of rights and authority against taxpayers. Abuse of power towards Sokoji's clients. As for the embezzlement of public property or theft of equipment and other malpractice in public administration, these range from the misappropriation of pharmaceutical kits and hospitalization equipment in health centers to sexual harassment in our administrations and other professional misconducts that go unpunished by the Axis. The most emblematic cases include the diversion of food supplies intended for the displaced people at the Goudebo camp in Dori to the catering service of the Regional Hospital Center of Dori, thus revealing collusion between staff of the Dori Regional Hospital Center, the supplier of the hospital's restaurant, and agents of the World Food Programme. Cases of arbitrary reassignment as punishment for whistleblowing, embezzlement of food supplies, and the obstruction of educational activities by those responsible for education in the Sahel region. Failure to comply with the specifications for the Ouagadougou Development Zone, and the deliberate obstruction of sanitation facilities in CP15 Ouagadougou District. One might suspect a malfunction within the municipal administration in the handling of this case. As usual, the handling of this case follows a very rigorous methodology. Administrative and judicial sanctions will be applied accordingly at the end of the process. In light of these facts, which undoubtedly demonstrate the extent of the aforementioned bad practices, we invite all Burkinabe citizens, whether public or private sector workers, to report any form of dysfunction to the appropriate authorities or by calling the National Call Center at 199. These incidents, which are far from isolated, seriously tarnish the reputation and respectability of our administrations. They are detrimental to the services provided to the population, who are already suffering from the impact of terrorism disguised in various forms. The virtuous society we dream of for ourselves and our children should be characterized by integrity, honesty, and prudence. Solidarity, responsibility, respect for institutions, and love of the homeland, as advocated by Comrade President of FASO, Head of State, Captain Ibrahim Traore. Corade invites citizens to remain vigilant and to thwart any manipulations that may arise from this ongoing fight against corruption and bad practices, especially from individuals who will lose their privileges or potential advantages in the handling of these cases, or who may be affected in one way or another. Together, let us build a Burkinabe society that is dignified, upright, just, prosperous, and sovereign. The homeland.
So there you have it. So there you saw where he's talking about it's been rampant, not rampant, but it's been still happening in different sectors of Burkina Faso, and they have been doing their very best to rid the country of these kind of people, these corrupt officials who tend to line their pockets and using these fake NGOs. And this includes people who flew into the country and said that they are there to aid and assist, and then they in turn are robbing the people in blind and not actually there to do what they say and spy on the country as well. So there's a whole barrage of things these people have been going through. But I'm sure they have been steadfast and have been cleaning up the country more and more. Hence the reason why it's getting more difficult for them to for these NGOs and these so-called companies who come to help. There are no longer that much of them in the country because I'm sure we have actually black a lot of them. And the last one that was caught was a French lady who came to the country. She said that she's going to help females in empowering them. And all this time, she was a spy. But Ibrahim Traore and his army and his intelligence agency knew of her and what she was doing, but they fed her wrong information for her to give to her superiors. By the way, she would get caught and she was called and they had all the proof and evidence they needed. So we have NGOs going in the countries they're using these NGOs as spy, these NGO heads as spies and using the NGO offices as their headquarters. And this is what I'm sure has been eradicating, and it's getting more and more difficult for them to survive or to still do these things in the country. But anyway, shout out to all the intelligence personnel on the Burkina Faso, and also shout out to Ibrahim Traore for still standing firm after 3 years in power and still doing everything he said he will do, and some of the things he don't even come onto the public and say he's gonna do. He just do it, and we saw the results of it. So anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comment section now. 3 to 4, going on 4 years of Ibrahim Traore's rule. What do you think? Not what. What do you think he's doing, and what do you think he can do more to bring Burkina Faso in the future? Let me know in the comment section. Boom.